this one? No? Eh? Huh. Okay.
Axe is ready.
That's what she said.
Axe.
Oh my god, it's almost time!
Oh my god, it's almost time.
Forward.
The hell? Hmm. Huh.
Into war's teeth. Wet my blade.
Not at 90.
To battle. Axe runs. Scepter. Axe, axe.
First blood!
The blade of axe has cut and run.
Nakakamiss yun dati.
Enemies need killing.
Spotted.
Axe is under attack. Axe goes.
Oh boy, killing spree.
Oh man, this guy's dominating!
Axe brings the fight if you can.
Morty, there's a time and a place.
Axe comes.
Ah, Morty. This is my journal. This is a day to remember. There was a monster being slaughtered that happened for a second.
Tagal ng queue. One-man army. Axe gains strength based on his armor as long as he gets away from his allies. Okay. Berserkers called gives attacking enemies more attack speed and Axe more armor for duration. Okay. So this could help out, I guess, with counter helixes. Okay. Let's see. Don't normally play Axe. I'm really not versatile. Averages current 7. Best records 1040. I just recently got this one. Players are calibrated when their rank confidence is 30% or greater. Your rank confidence goes up with each game you play and goes down the longer games been last game to equal. Hello? gonna tell the world's gonna win. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
A conflict the size of the Ukrainian war will have a profound effect on global politics, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. While the physical battles of the Ukrainian war are largely contained within borders, their ramifications span the globe. Perhaps one of the most surprising ways this is manifesting itself is somewhat shielding Taiwan from the unwanted attention of its global superpower neighbor, China. But how does a conflict thousands of miles away influence the security of Taiwan? This is a complex question with no single answer. Of course, the Russian invasion of Ukraine has shown that there is no such thing as a pushover in war, especially when a population is determined to fight for its sovereignty. This one factor has certainly made the Chinese think more seriously about the wisdom of any military action, but the reasons run deeper than only this. The conflict in Ukraine has underscored the challenges and risks associated with aggression in the modern era. Hybrid warfare tactics, economic repercussions, and the role of international alliances all need to be explored. Join us as we set out to discover how a European war is helping to secure Taiwan from the advances of a global superpower. Despite being separated by 5,000 miles, there are distinct parallels that can be drawn between Ukraine and Taiwan and their relationships with their more powerful neighbors. These parallels were noted even before the Russians began the invasion. Notably, Boris Johnson, the then UK Prime Minister, drew attention to the potential implications for Taiwan. He noted the existence of a heightened threat to Taiwan if the West didn't support Ukraine. More directly, Volodymyr Dubovik, director of the Center for International Studies at Mechnikov National University in Odessa, summed up the similarities, noting, Russian President Vladimir Putin says there's no such thing as Ukraine, that it's part of Russia, that it's some kind of historical deviation that you have a country called Ukraine. He goes on to note that this corresponds to what China says. Specifically, there is no such thing as Taiwan, and there is just one Chinese nation. Putin's stance on Ukraine can also be directly mirrored with Chinese President Xi Jinping's stance on Taiwan. Both leaders refuse to accept the international status of their neighbors and see them as being the creation of hostile Western forces with the ultimate goal of weakening their respective countries. Additionally, both Putin and Xi rely on a distorted version of history to support their territorial claims. Putin says that Ukraine has always been Russian, while Xi maintains that Taiwan has belonged to China since ancient times. Neither stance is backed by historical facts, which we'll go into later. The parallels between the two situations go beyond mere rhetoric to encompass geopolitical strategies. Both Putin and Xi are using their respective positions to assert dominance and project power in their regions. The refusal to acknowledge the sovereignty of Ukraine and Taiwan reflects a broader agenda aimed at maintaining control and preserving national interests. So the similarities are plain for all to see. Both Russia and China have ambitions to overwhelm and assimilate their weaker neighbors, Ukraine and Taiwan respectively, into their sphere of influence. The main difference is that Putin has already taken the plunge, and the Chinese can sit back and watch the show. This has the potential to let them learn from the uncountable number of Russian mistakes before deciding on a course of action. Given this advantage, it could be postulated that the war in Ukraine is strengthening the Chinese position. After all, good commanders have always learned from the mistakes of history. But in this case, we need to ask why the opposite is true. We need to ask why the war in Ukraine is strengthening the security of Taiwan and helping to protect it from the unwanted attention of its much larger and more powerful neighbor. Let's have a look at the main lessons from the Ukraine war that are helping to save Taiwan from China. Certainly, from a military standpoint, the difficulties of the war in Ukraine must be a factor. It quickly became apparent that Putin's military was not up to the job at hand. The war has now raged for over 2 years, with hundreds of thousands killed and millions more displaced. But it was never meant to be like this. According to the think tank the Royal United Services Institute, Putin expected to take control of Ukraine within 10 days. This wasn't just a poor calculation, it was wrong to an incredible magnitude. As far as military miscalculations go, this is up there with the best of them. The incompetence of the Russian military and the appalling condition of its hardware were quickly plain for all to see. Put simply, the Russians had a mighty military machine on paper, but only on paper. On the battlefield, it was a different matter. Poorly trained, ill-informed, unmotivated, and inadequately equipped troops were hampered by severe logistical challenges. When coupled with a lack of effective leadership, the chances of Putin's 10-day plan succeeding were effectively zero. But this is a Russian problem, and such incompetence certainly isn't something that we can assume will also blight the Chinese military. What can be asserted, and will certainly have made the Chinese leadership sit up and take notice, is that Putin completely miscalculated the response of the Ukrainian people. Putin believed that the majority of the apathetic Ukrainian people would willingly align with Russia. Essentially, he didn't think the Ukrainians would put up a fight. This was more than a minor miscalculation. Putin has long believed that the Ukrainians and the Russians were one people who had been separated against their will by the collapse of the Soviet Union. This fundamental misunderstanding of Ukrainian identity and resolve has played a crucial role in the outcome of the invasion. Putin's assumption that Ukrainians would passively accept Russian dominance led to strategic errors and overestimations of Russian support within Ukraine. The fierce resistance put up by the Ukrainian forces and the unity displayed by the Ukrainian people shattered Putin's expectations and prolonged the conflict far beyond his initial projections. Had the Ukrainian population reacted as Putin had expected, then his plan may well have worked, despite the glaring inadequacies of his military machine. But would the Taiwanese population be as motivated to repel an invasion as the Ukrainians were? While there are similarities, the situation is complex, and to fully understand it, we need to take that quick history lesson we promised. China views self-governing Taiwan as a renegade province, destined for eventual reunification under Beijing's control, even if it means resorting to military force. However, Taiwan sees itself as distinct from mainland China, boasting its own constitution, democratically elected leaders, and a unique cultural identity. Even with its proximity to mainland China and strong economic ties, Taiwan has increasingly adopted a separate Taiwanese identity over the years. Many Taiwanese citizens identify more strongly as Taiwanese rather than Chinese, reflecting a growing sense of national consciousness and autonomy. The historical relationship between Taiwan and China is equally complex. While historical records suggest that Taiwan started seeing Chinese settlements in the 17th century, it became a Japanese colony in 1895, following the Qing Empire's defeat in the First Sino-Japanese War. After World War II, Taiwan was returned to Chinese control, but under the leadership of the nationalist Kuomintang, or KMT, government, led by General Chiang Kai-shek, who fled to the island following the communist victory in the Chinese Civil War in 1949. Despite the KMT's claims of sovereignty over all of China, Taiwan operated as a separate entity known as the Republic of China, retaining its government and institutions. This historical ambiguity forms the basis of China's territorial claims over Taiwan. All the while, Taiwan argues that it was never part of the modern Chinese state, established in 1911, or the People's Republic of China, established in 1949. But regardless of the history of the island and its superpower neighbor, it is, as Ukraine demonstrated, the will of the people that can make all the difference. So just how committed to independence is the Taiwanese population? Before we look at the position of the Taiwanese population, it's useful to look at how the Ukrainians felt about the Russians before the war, and how this has evolved since the Russians annexed Crimea in 2014. Perhaps surprisingly, the Ukrainians felt positively about Russia up until this date. However, since the annexation of Crimea, the picture changed dramatically and the attitude significantly cooled. The Ukrainian leadership has sought closer ties with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, but it's interesting to note that popular support for such a move was more divided. Even after the annexation of Crimea, the Ukrainian people remain divided. A survey carried out in 2019 revealed some interesting figures. At that point, over 60% of the Ukrainian population still wanted good and positive military relations with Russia, and just over 50% thought the same about military relations with NATO. However, the figures also showed that 44% of the population would consider joining NATO, whereas less than 30% sought closer military cooperation with Russia. Ultimately, what the figures prove is while external factors and historical context play a significant role in shaping public sentiment, the will of the people is complex and cannot be easily categorized. Although reading Putin's mind is never easy, it's conceivable that figures like this help persuade him and his military leadership that the Ukrainians wouldn't put up much of a fight. These are the lessons that the Chinese will learn from, and what's clear is that the will of the people isn't something that can be easily gauged. Yet it must be accounted for in any military strategy. This is especially relevant as the muddied waters of Ukrainian public opinion about its hostile neighbor can also be applied to Taiwan. Recent surveys in the country have revealed a population that isn't as polarized as many in the West believe. While over 80% of Taiwanese people want to keep the status quo, other figures are not quite so clear. For instance, only 62% of Taiwanese people consider themselves to be Taiwanese, with a third of the population considering themselves to be both Chinese and Taiwanese. But what the war in Ukraine has told us is that these figures can be discarded as meaningless once the bullets start to fly. An
Fire in the
unpredictable and
hole.
potentially catastrophic response from the population is one factor
Yes.
that could persuade the
tower
Chinese
is
to
under
think
attack.
again about their aspirations toward their neighbor. But it's far from the only one.
Time to
Another significant aspect that could help save Taiwan from the weight of the Ukrainian conflict was the widespread sanctions imposed on Russia in the immediate aftermath of the invasion. Again, there isn't a clear-cut reason here.
Morty,
It
watch
could be
out.
argued that
It's a
sanctions have
killing
failed to
spree.
stop Russia's war machine, and in this sense, they have failed. However, whether the threat of sanctions would deter China from military action against Taiwan
Every
will
coin
boil
helps.
down to how important the Chinese leadership considers economic prosperity. What is clear is that for the past 40 years or so, economic growth has
Stoke
been the
those
most important thing
flames,
for them.
I'm coming
This
in.
pursuit of
Heat
economic
wave.
expansion remains relevant today, with the country venturing into new markets such as electric vehicles and renewable energy to sustain its growth trajectory. For instance, more than half the electric vehicles on the roads worldwide are found in China, and the country was responsible for 35% of electric vehicle exports
I'm
in
under attack.
2022. The renewable energy figures are even more impressive, with the country now producing 80% of the world's solar panels. To put some perspective on this, the United
I'm
States
going.
produces 2%. Invading Taiwan would be at odds with this strategy, and the imposition of sanctions would disrupt this growth significantly. China's reliance on global trade and investment means that any significant
That was
economic
hot.
repercussions could have far-reaching consequences.
Like a
The
wildfire.
interconnectedness of the global economy could amplify the impact of sanctions, potentially inflicting damage on various
Fire
sectors,
away.
industries, and key members of the Chinese leadership. The threat of sanctions also carries symbolic weight,
Help
although
me,
China
Flo.
is not renowned for being overly concerned by such matters. Nevertheless, it signals to the international community that certain actions, such as military aggression or human
To
rights
battle.
violations, will not be tolerated. This could isolate China diplomatically to a degree that such symbolism could make a difference. But would the West be as quick to impose sanctions on the Chinese if they were to invade Taiwan? The short answer is yes. The West, specifically the G7 countries, which includes the US, the UK, Germany, Canada,
Your
Japan,
middle
France,
tower is
and
under
Italy,
attack.
would likely impose sanctions if the situation in the Taiwan Strait were to escalate beyond mere posturing. In the event of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, the G7 countries would face significant pressure from their citizens, as well as from the broader
Thanks for the
international
warm
community,
reception.
to take decisive action. Failure to respond to such aggression could
I go
undermine
like
the
the
credibility
blazes.
of the G7's commitment to defending democratic values and deterring authoritarian aggression. Additionally,
Yes.
the economic power wielded by the G7 countries collectively is considerable. Sanctions
Burn a
targeting
pack.
key sectors of the Chinese economy, such as finance, technology, and manufacturing, could severely hurt China
Like a
economically.
wildfire.
The prospect of disrupting global supply chains and access to international markets would be a powerful deterrent for Chinese
going.
policymakers. However, the decision to impose sanctions would not be taken lightly. The G7 countries would need
To
to
battle.
carefully weigh the potential costs and benefits of such actions, considering the
Let's
broader
go.
implications for regional stability, global trade, and geopolitical dynamics. Coordination among G7 members and other like-minded allies would be essential
Heat
to ensure a
wave.
unified and effective response. So the Ukraine war may have sown some seeds of Chinese doubt as far as the resistance of the Taiwanese people and the reaction of the international community goes. But what about militarily?
On it.
Has what's been happening on the battlefields of Ukraine helped save Taiwan from the heightened aggression of China? The
Time
war
to
in Ukraine has been closely monitored, not just for its immediate impact on the region, but the broader military lessons that can be gleaned from the conflict. What has become clear is that the face of modern warfare has changed forever, and merely having a mighty military is no longer a guarantee of battlefield success. From the outset, it became evident that Putin's ambitious timeline for the
Like a
invasion did
wildfire.
not match the realities on the ground. The Ukrainian
It's
forces'
not time
resilience
yet.
and determination, coupled with the effective international support,
On it.
have posed significant
tangina niya.
challenges to the Russian military machine. But beyond the specific circumstances of the conflict,
I'm
there are
going.
wider implications that are relevant to Taiwan's security situation. One of the main points is the questions that have
Oh,
been
yeah.
raised by the performance of the Russian military. Disregarding the poorly trained troops, the shocking state of much of their
Heat
hardware,
wave.
and the awful logistics, the overall effectiveness of large-scale conventional forces in modern warfare
Quick.
must be questioned.
Aga kasi.
This fact is corroborated by the Russian casualty figures. Obtaining accurate figures is always difficult in the fog of war, but a declassified US intelligence report assessed Russian casualties to be around 315,000 dead or injured as of the end of 2023. To put this figure in perspective, it represents nearly 90% of the personnel it had when the special operation started. These figures go a long way to explaining why Russia is being forced to replenish its army at the rate of 30,000
Go,
new soldiers
whoa,
each
killing
month.
spree. Oh,
Despite
everyone's
Russia's significant military arsenal,
The
including
Axis
tanks,
was an
artillery, and
accident.
air power, its operations have faced formidable obstacles.
Burn
The
a
use of
path.
tens of thousands of drones by the Ukrainians, many of them off the shelf, has helped to even the playing field. The ability of these sub-$1,000 machines to hit multi-billion-dollar military assets has changed the shape of warfare. Drones are being
battle.
used by the Ukrainians and Russians for everything from resupplying troops to target acquisition. Effectively, the mere threat of
Yes.
drone attacks has forced military hardware assets like tanks
slow
to move
burn.
several miles from the front line. Additionally, ground troops
To
are
battle.
citing drones that drop munitions as their biggest threat. They also say that there are so many in the air that it's difficult to move
Heat
from
wave.
trenches or reinforced dugouts. While this scenario will apply to both sides in any modern conflict, it must be considered something of a playing field leveler when assessing the military balance between adversaries. A look at the Ukrainian drone industry shows just how
Open
critical
fire.
this is. From being virtually non-existent at the start of the conflict, there are now over 200 companies producing drones in Ukraine. Officials in the country have set
Burn
a
'em
target
all.
of over 1 million domestically produced first-person view FPV drones in 2024 at a cost of just a few $100s per drone. They also plan to produce more than 11,000 medium and long-range attack drones. The Russians too are ramping up production.
Gusto mo naman yung
Given the
shackle mo?
Russian track record with military hardware,
naman
it
eh.
won't be a surprise to hear that these are badly made and unreliable. Yet in terms of sheer numbers, they have at least doubled the amount of drones produced towards us.
Double
As
kill.
far as FPV drones go, obtaining accurate figures for how many the
yeah.
Russians are using is difficult. However, Russian First Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Belousov recently announced that the annual production of unmanned
I'm
aerial
going.
vehicles is to be tripled to a planned 32,500 per
sorry.
year in a program costing
Burn a path.
$7.66 billion. It can also be claimed that the use of drones and other unmanned systems has demonstrated the evolution of warfare into a more
Whoa, initiating killing spree
Unlike
mode.
traditional
Red
conflicts
fire in the
dominated by
hole.
large, centralized military forces, modern warfare
Yes.
increasingly involves a diverse array of participants, including non-state
Your
components
middle
and
tower is
irregular
under
forces, using advanced technology to disrupt conventional strategies. This is something that presents
Like a
both challenges
wildfire.
and opportunities for Taiwan's defense planners as they seek to adapt to the changing nature of warfare. Similarly, it's a scenario that can only sow more seeds of doubt within the Chinese leadership regarding the feasibility and success of any military action against Taiwan. Of course, the irony is that the Chinese remain one of the biggest manufacturers of the many non-military drones that are now being repurposed. Yet these have become fundamental in modern warfare and are playing a major role in the rising
top
risks
tower
and
is
costs
under
of
attack.
military actions. Ultimately, drone warfare
Time to
is a
hot
factor
foot
that could mean that Chinese policymakers are compelled to reconsider their approach to Taiwan, prioritizing
way.
diplomatic solutions
wave.
and de-escalation over confrontation and coercion. But drone warfare alone isn't reshaping modern warfare. Another factor
Yes.
that has emerged and could help to dissuade the Chinese is the use of cyber attacks as a weapon of war.
I'm going.
Cyber attacks must now be considered a legitimate
Dire
tactic
structures
of
are
modern warfare.
fortified.
In terms of how that's changing warfare, we can look at a Google estimate that shows how Russian cyber attacks on Ukraine have increased by 250% since 2020.
Your
The
bottom
Ukrainians
tower
are also
is under
highly
attack.
active in this
The
sphere,
enemy's middle
being
tower
near the
has
top of
fallen.
the global rankings for
Yun ang
digital
dami
attacks
nito.
since
Yes.
Russia's invasion of Crimea in 2014.
Wala
These
akong
attacks
spike
are
na.
not
Like a
restricted to
wildfire.
military targets either. The Russians have consistently targeted civilian infrastructure, including energy grids and power stations
Their
that
top
often
tower
run
fell over.
outdated software.
wait,
Both
they-
sides have used this to create an atmosphere of fear
battle.
and to demoralize the
He's
civilian
dominating now!
population.
He's
This is
dominating!
a strategy that the Taiwanese could readily employ
Burn
against the
a path.
Chinese should they decide to
300.
escalate the situation in the Taiwan Strait. For Taiwan, learning from this
Time to
and
hot
enhancing its cyber capabilities to defend
Your
against
middle
potential
tower is
Chinese
under attack.
aggression could also help dissuade China from an all-out attack.
Wait.
Hybrid war tactics are also
what does
worth
that mean?
mentioning. Hybrid war tactics are difficult to
I know with the
quantify and
blazes.
certainly include many of the topics we've already covered in this video, including trade policy, cyber attacks, and export
Yes.
controls. However, the concept of hybrid warfare is not new, with many experts tracing its roots to ancient
Yes.
military strategies that combined military force with diplomacy, espionage, and propaganda. What sets contemporary hybrid warfare
Oh, yeah.
apart is the rapid evolution of technology and the increasing interconnectedness of global economies, which have amplified the impact of non-traditional tools and tactics. In the context of the China-Taiwan situation, hybrid attacks can work both ways. While China may seek to use hybrid warfare strategies to coerce Taiwan and undermine
topic
its
storm?
sovereignty, Taiwan
Low
can
na yun
also
ah.
employ similar tactics to deter aggression and defend its interests. For Taiwan, hybrid warfare offers a means to counter its larger and more powerful adversary. this threat would not be enough on its own to dissuade the Chinese from military action, but as part of a bigger picture, the Chinese would be fooled by disregard this as a factor. Finally, we need to consider the role of the international community and its response in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Specifically, let's look at the American response and why this would be the final nail in the coffin of China's Taiwan ambitions. China is acutely aware that Taiwan holds far more strategic and economic significance to the United States than Ukraine ever could. Semiconductor production,
Tangin ng
Taiwan's
pating yan.
technology industry is indispensable to global innovation and economic stability. But it goes deeper than purely economic importance. Taiwan occupies a critical position within the
killing
island
spree.
chain, a region dominated by
looks like we got
American
ourselves a
strategic
triple
interests
kill here,
stretching
Rick.
from
Morty,
Hokkaido
quit acting like
to
a
the Philippines
detective.
and Singapore. Historic.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Can we pause, please? I'm terrified beyond capacity for rational thought.
That was just a warning. Burn a path. I'm going.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Like a wildfire.
Your bottom tower has fallen.
Hinabol nyo. Putang ina nyo.
Interruption, sir, but it's a phone call from your middle tower. It says it's being destroyed.
Like a wildfire.
Oh my god! Four in a row! He's now dominating! He's dominating, Rick!
I'm going. I'm under attack. I can make the blazes.
Niregla pa si ano.
You're not going anywhere.
Whoa, mega kill. Uh-oh. Mega kill.
Pa namatay. Bakit?
Burn 'em up. I'm not ready.
Back after you've had some practice.
Burn 'em all. Time to hotfoot it.
Hinabol nila.
Oh yeah.
Asar naman yung mga yun. Hinabol nila yung Morphling. Dapat yung
Yes.
baba na lang. Ano, 1-7 ang score ko.
Quick.
Di pala to okay
Oh, yeah.
mag-support.
All fired up.
Tay.
Like a wild.
Killing spree. Whoa!
Yes.
OP naman ng spec na yan. Tangin na presence niya sobrang ano. Ilang cooldown ba niyan?
I deserve this.
What the fuck was that?
Mine!
Yes. Time to hotfoot it. On it. Quick. I go like the blazes.
Hindi kayo nadala.
Heat wave.
Papalagan mo yan. Kanyang karami.
Burn a path.
Ang kukulit nyo naman.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Guys,
I'm
guys,
going.
guys, you need to defend here.
Correct.
To battle.
Oh, jeez, he's dominating.
Middle tower is under attack. Oh man, this is totally hurting my
I'm under attack. Held your feet to the fire. Oh yeah.
Wubba lubba dub dub!
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Quick. On it. Burn a path.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Ding dong! Radiant structures are fortified.
I'm going. Open fire. Heat wave.
Ano pa ako dito niyan?
It's not time yet. Yes. I can like the blazes.
From my stone.
That wasn't too bright. Like a wildfire.
Kaya. Ano ang kong item? Kaya ba ako?
To battle.
Your top
Yes.
tower is under attack.
Time to hot-foot it.
Nasyan, kaya tayo.
I'm going.
Dragon Step cooldown.
To battle.
Every, ilan to? 4.5 seconds.
Oh, mega kill!
He did again. He did.
Burn a path.
Excuse me, sir, but it's your
Like
top
a
tower.
wildfire.
It says it's being destroyed.
Hot-foot. I go like the blazes.
Gusto ko tuloy mag-Maelstrom.
Yes.
Go sa Mirror Escape.
Yes.
Specialist.
A slow burn. Quick. Time to
Aga.
hot-foot it. On it. Heat wave.
Your bottom tower is under attack. We're detecting high levels
Yung
of
mapatayan.
sagacity, Captain.
Asa pa?
Heat wave.
Morty, who was that?
I don't know. It's pretty tight.
Oh my gosh, Morty! Wubba
He's
lubba
from
dub
Boston
dub!
because he's wicked sick.
Quick. Turn me over. I'm done.
This is a good opportunity to learn.
Pinasok nyo kasi.
Oh, jeez, it's a killing spree.
Pinasok ko yung dalawa eh.
Attack.
Hindi mo mapatay yung North Pole.
Bottom tower go bye-bye.
Libre nito. Ags. Buo na ata ito eh.
Your top tower is
Ay,
under
buo na.
attack.
Lakit na lang kailangan niya.
I bring the heat. I'm
Your
going.
middle tower is under attack.
Not yet.
Ay na ang damage nito.
Your middle tower has fallen. Boo!
Not yet. Under attack.
Ay!
Line him up.
Rick, there's a monster kill just happened.
What's your, is this your first time seeing a monster kill?
Di ba siya nag-ulti dun?
Double kill. Oh, man.
Tower is under attack.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Level up a
It's a
dub
killing
dub.
spree over here.
Your top tower is under attack. Remember that top tower you like so much? Mwah! Kiss it goodbye. Your top tower is under attack. Excuse me, sir. It says it's being destroyed. Your top tower has fallen. Wow, you make me look good. Thanks. Your middle tower is under attack.
Like a wildfire. Yes.
Middle tower, take it off your Christmas
Burn
card
a
list.
path.
It's
Ang
gone.
hirap pa ito i-pause for, no? Or, ano lang,
Burn 'em up.
outbreak lang. Could have been.
To battle.
Hirap pa ito i-pause
Oh
for,
yeah.
ano?
Yes. Slash and burn. Burn a path. I go like the blazes. Heat wave. Like a wildfire.
Oh, jeez. They would be on
Calm
godlike
down,
Rick.
Morty. Calm down. It's okay.
No, it's not okay. I'm getting mad. I'm getting angry
To
about
battle.
this.
Ba't mawala illusions niya, gago?
On it. I'm going. Time to hotfoot it. Fire in the hole. Yes.
What the
Quick, I'm on
Yan ang issue sa spec ko.
Holy shit.
Tangan ng ano yan. Ang OP naman yan.
Roshan has fallen to the dire.
Life springs eternal.
Whose idea was that? Every 1 second? What the fuck?
Looks like it's gonna be a scorcher.
Your top tower is under attack.
Blazes.
Holy shit.
Time to hot.
Shit. Holy shit. Double kill.
Hindi nga pala patch.
Burn a path.
Your top tower
I'm
is under
going.
attack. Hey, you guys, radiant structures are fortified. Forget about it. Dire structures are
Like a
fortified.
wildfire. Oh yeah. Yes.
He's super godlike, or beyond godlike, I meant.
Hirap.
Your top tower is under attack.
Paka-OP ng spec ko. Tanga.
Oh man, this guy's dominating.
Remember that top tower you like so much? Mwah! Kiss it goodbye.
Global
Your
na
top
ano.
barracks has fallen.
Sino yung isip niyan?
No, not so fast, Morty, because he just mega killed. It's a mega kill now.
Your top barracks has
To
fallen.
battle. Money to burn. Burn them all. I'm under attack.
Radiant structures are fortified. Dire's courier has been killed.
Light them up.
Holy shit!
Your middle tower has fallen. Oh lord, not the middle barracks, not old Midley. Your middle barracks are under attack. Why is this so bloody difficult?
Holy crap, Rick, he's unstoppable!
Heat wave.
Hey, Jesus, this is some wicked sick
Wubba
stuff,
lubba
Rick,
dub
because he just
dub.
wicked sicked it!
That's right. Uh-oh, monster kill. Watch
Oh,
out, Morty.
triple
Heads,
kill!
heads up.
Heads up for me!
To battle. Quick. Burn
Your
it
middle
high.
barracks are under attack. Hello? We needed that middle racks.
I'm going.
If you're feeling faint, that's okay. Just lie down, open your legs,
Yes.
breathe into this big
Time to hotfoot it.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Yung full charge yung ano ko.
Bottom tower go bye-bye.
Mouse.
Bottom racks, who needs it? Your bottom barracks has fallen. The enemy now has mega creeps.
Like a wildfire.
Pardon the interruption, sir, but it's a phone call from your middle tower. It says it's being destroyed.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, Rick, it's God, people!
Godlike.
I'm under attack.
They're godlike.
I could. Quick. Attack. Yes. I'm not ready. Time to hotfoot it. To battle.
Middle tower, take it off your Christmas card list. It's gone! Your middle
I'm
tower is
going.
under attack.
On it.
Middle tower, take it off your Christmas card list. It's gone! Your ancient is under attack.
Oh yeah.
They're attacking the big rock thingy.
Blazes.
Your ancient is under attack.
Like a wildfire. It's not time.
Your ancient is under attack.
Yes.
Gago ka pala eh. Kung may pang-counter ka sa ult ni spec, I'm all ears. I'll take responsibility for me feeding. Fucking absolute asshole. You saw Spectre killing supports out of nowhere. Let me guess, this guy's Pinoy. He has to be. Okay, as expected, yeah. He doesn't know. As expected. He has no idea how OP Spec was. Okay, I'm done for a bit.